Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Precious Metal Summit 2017 here in Zurich. Commodity-TV here for you, live in Zurich. And we have now not gold, not silver. Now we talk about cobalt, one of the future energy metals we love for the e-mobility. And first cobalt is here with us, and Paul Matysek wants to give us an insight. Paul, welcome, and thanks for taking the time.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, fantastic. Paul, I think we should maybe first talk a little bit about your person, because you are not really that unknown in the mining industry, I would say.
Well, I've done a few things.
Yeah.
So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've made a habit of taking companies and finding trends in uranium, potash, lithium, gold, and trying to capitalize on a rising market. And in all those four categories, I've sold companies to a tune of almost $2 billion.
So you have a nice track record, I would call it.
Yes, and I've been a big kind of proponent of the battery metals industry, and starting in 2010, I formed a company called Lithium One, and that eventually became, I found a salar in Argentina, and then some spodumene deposits in James Bay. Eventually sold it to a company called Galaxy, and that company now enjoys almost $1.5 billion of market cap.
Okay, so well done. So let's dive into first cobalt, I would call.
So,
because cobalt is the battery metal for the cathode, which we need for the future, and e-mobility is not only a new trend, I think it's the next big thing for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever.
Yes, and the reason why cobalt has got a big rise and a lot of attention is that it's a proponent of a cathode for batteries, especially for electric vehicles, that because of the high energy density, when you make that cathode material, you can make longer charges, because one of the big issues with vehicles is you need how far they can go, how quickly they can recharge. You're driving down the Autobahn and you got to stop, and how long do I have to wait? So cobalt helps with that. And so if you look at that in the future, with the adoption of China going totally electric in 10 years, there's going to be a huge higher adoption of electric vehicles. The demand for cobalt is going to increase, just like lithium, like all the other energy metals, as you call them. So if you look, and another thing, most cobalt is actually mined as a secondary metal, and there's very few primary metals. So so it's often associated with the mining of copper or nickel, and nickel has had a dive, and so the supply of secondary cobalt has been minimized. So there's a squeeze on supply. There's been a growth of demand because of electric vehicles.
So the gap is going like this?
The gap is going like this. So the price, I think, of cobalt 3 or 4 years ago was like $5, $6, $7 a pound, and now it's $25 a pound. Projections by a lot of analysts have seen that right now we produce close to 110,000 tons a year of cobalt. The projection by 2025 is 200,000.
Oops.
Okay.
It's
double. And they expect prices to go north of $35. So that's the major proponent for First Cobalt to do this transaction, and to become, what we're doing in this field right now is to become the largest primary cobalt explorer in the world.
But in Canada and not in the DRC, that's the major difference.
Yeah,
because I think one of the problems which arise with cobalt is that I think 82% are coming from Congo, DRC, and stuff like that, if I'm correct.
I think it's 60, 65.
Okay, 65,
but
it's a big chunk.
Big chunk. And and it's because there isn't a lot of primary cobalt deposits in the world, and they're mostly focused in the DRC. So, and we're taking a North American focus, easier permitting. There's a lot of demand. Like I'm sure companies like Tesla would have, Beamer would like to have cobalt from North America.
Oh, definitely. Also, all the Mercedes and Audis and Porsches and
on a politically correct basis.
Exactly. Fantastic. So, can you give us a little bit more of an overview of the amalgamation of like 3 companies together? But they're all Canadian, of course, right?
One's an Australian company called Cobalt One, and one's and two other Canadian companies, Cobalt and First Cobalt. And there was a focus on all three companies in the predominant cobalt camp in Canada, which is residing in Cobalt, Ontario, which more ironically was one of the biggest silver producers in Canada and had a byproduct of cobalt. And in its history, and it actually produced like hundreds of millions of ounces of silver, but 50 million pounds of cobalt. So each of these three companies went to Cobalt, Ontario, and staked ground. And together as an amalgamation, they own almost 50% of the camp, maybe more, 10,000 hectares. One of the companies brings a refinery. And there's only 3 refineries that can actually process cobalt in all of North America. So it was a very strategic move. There's mills, and the reason, so there was a meeting of all the mines and said, we should try to take all these small market caps, make them into one, get us some mass so that we can attract the attention of larger institutions, and we'd want to be the go-to pure play cobalt.
Absolutely. So what would be then the market cap approximately of all three together?
So this transaction is supposed to transpire by the middle of December, and by that time would approximately $140 to $160 million.
Yeah, then you are really in the game.
You're really in the game. You can, and you know, in my career and the rest of the board members' careers are to acquire, use our market cap and our share price to acquire further assets down the road.
Absolutely. Can you give us maybe a little bit more of the, let's say, bigger picture? You said you will be like one of the largest or the largest cobalt explorer. I mean, exploration is great. We just learned some minutes ago that we need the physical stuff to build the batteries, of course. So will you be then also a producer?
Yes, so our long-term goal is to, in the cobalt camp, is to become a producer there. We have, there's 50 known mines in that area, and there's a lot of muck piles around there. Muck piles, these are just from the ore that they've mined. They call it waste, but actually there's a lot of cobalt in it. So there's one way of getting near-term production, the muck piles. But we're also using our market cap to look at other near producers in the North America scene. And so that's one of our primary goals, is to look at the space, use our market cap to gobble up other companies that have like-minded thoughts that we have. And we'd like to go into production as soon as possible.
So yeah, absolutely. Can you say maybe something on the time frame for the production? Do we talk about, let's say, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from here?
In the
Just
cobalt camp
roughly.
itself, we'd probably need a 2 to 5 year horizon to get something that we would consider significant production. But our goal is to look at nearer term opportunities. There's 3 or 4 that we're looking at right now.
Okay, fantastic, great. Paul, thank you very much for this insight. Really like it, appreciate it, and I would say keep it going. And by the mid of December, then when everything is finished and melted together, then we should talk latest at PDAC.
Oh, it'd be my pleasure.
Super, thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there was Paul Matysek from First Cobalt, and you heard it. The company is amalgamating 3 companies together to get to really establish one big cobalt company, a leading company out of Canada. And of course, they want to explore, but also they want to produce as soon as possible cobalt, because the world needs it. I think company is right on track, and cobalt is really in high demand. The supply is not there, as Paul alluded. And so check out the company. Thanks for watching us. Bye-bye from Zurich.